Good morning, Prof. Happy New Month.
Yes, it's the first Sunday of April, 3rd April 2022.
Well,
I don't know.
I haven't spoken to you. I haven't spoken to you in April. This is the first time I'm speaking to you in April. So yes, Happy New Month.
Oh,
Viewers, don't mind Prof. You know, he's a prof. He doesn't like hearing all this Happy New Month, Happy New Week.
Why are you stopping with months? You might as well go with Happy New Week, Happy New Day.
Anyway, no, it's so that you can have a break, you know, like maybe 4 weeks, 5 weeks. It makes it fresh. But it's good to be back on the show. Good morning, viewers. Great to have you all here. Prof, how was your week? Hope you had a good one. I'm sure it was winter. Your week was winter, right? It was back to winter.
We did enjoy the week before, so can't complain. But one thing's for sure, the days are getting longer. All right.
They are indeed.
So that's good. Yeah, getting
longer. They are indeed. That's really good. I know. I remember waking up on Monday morning last week, and I saw fog, as in thick fog, and I was like, "Where did this come from?" Like yesterday, I was walking about without clothes. Well, I mean, with clothes, without coat on. You know, why is this fog here now? But anyway,
I think, though, to be fair, it's not that cold. All right, we still have double.
Yeah, but it looks grey. It's just the grayness. Anyway, we thank God, because we always say that we will not complain about any season, you know. All different seasons, we are grateful to God because they're all working together for our good. So thank you all so much for joining us again. It's your favorite Sunday morning show, SonRise. Here this morning, we're going to be having a very, very great time. I mean, I'm starting off today, really just thinking about how blessed we are as a people, you know, just to be here and share our words with ourselves and also learn from each other, but just before service, you know, before we get the spiritual meat that we need to have. And thank God for that. Prof, so this morning, I think we should talk about something that is very common, and we see it everywhere we go, basically. And in fact, I had to write it down, you know, so that I don't forget, because I want to be sure exactly what I say here. And this is for me, I'm saying, can we talk about demystifying otherness? And what do I mean by that? You know, where, you know, we meet different people in social settings, you know, could be in church, at work, anywhere, even in our community, our neighborhoods and all. But maybe in our interactions with them, so let me use myself as an example, as I always like to do, right? So I met this person, and interacting with them maybe for a few, could be weeks, months, it could even be an hour or 2 hours. And I have a judgment of how I am perceived by them. Now, perceived in the sense that I could feel like, I don't think this person likes me, or I think this person doesn't really feel my vibe. You know, that kind of a thing. How do we deal with it? Because we see a lot, especially in the workplace. I mean, we all spend, you know this as well. We all spend a lot of time at work. We work with different people from different backgrounds and all. And sometimes we struggle to relate with some people because we have an idea, or we have a preconceived idea of how this person or these people perceives us as a person. So, Prof, how do we demystify this otherness, please? And I like that you're smiling, because I think, yes, Prof, you like this. You already have the answer for me. So I'm really,
I don't have the answer.
I'm very happy, because our viewers as well, they're really waiting to hear from you. So, Prof, over to you.
Thank you, Bibby. Set up as usual. The term otherness I find interesting, and that's why I'm smiling, because it's a term I've used in the past, and I think people listening would have heard me use that term. And it's a term that really is a simple word, but it conveys this idea of somebody being different from you are. Right? And otherness is a term that covers a lot of things, right? Sometimes we can say it's about race, about ethnicity, it's about background, socioeconomic background, sometimes about sexual orientation, sometimes whatever else, right? But as long as there is a perceived difference. And you know the funny thing about otherness is, once you have a situation where the differences become more important than the similarities, then you're in a situation of otherness, right? Because no matter where you are.
You say that again. Say that again, please.
I said once you're in a situation where the differences matter more than the similarities, then you have a situation of otherness, right? And you know that there is no person, I don't care who it is, there is no human being on this planet that we as human beings, fellow human beings, interact with that we cannot find similarities with, that we cannot find things that we agree on. Yeah. But it's interesting that much of the time, what defines our relationships with other people are the things that we don't agree on, which is why we talk a lot about otherness. And I said that as really as a cause to pause and ponder for all of us, right? Because you then ask yourself, why is it that oftentimes what defines my perception of somebody or my, in quote, judgment of that person are the differences.
The differences, yeah. That is so powerful.
Yeah. The person might have 75 similarities with me. I may have 25 differences, or indeed might even have 10 differences, and the other 15 things I'm not sure about. And then I focus so much on the differences. And you know what? It takes two to tango. And sometimes it's not just one party doing that. You might find two parties spending so much time and effort on emphasizing those differences and exploring those differences, and then those differences become a big deal. And hence we have the conundrum, the challenge, the problem of otherness. And so in the first instance, I started from there to say, actually, often we treat otherness as inevitable. And that's what I'm challenging. I'm pushing back on that. It's really inevitable that we face otherness. Sometimes our very own approach, our very own backgrounds, and the way we've kind of approached life means that we put ourselves to pursue otherness, right? Rather than togetherness.
Yeah.
And without knowing it ourselves, we already set the stage for otherness to come to the fore. Sometimes it's in the way we talk and the language that we use. You know, last week, remember we talked about this idea of communication.
Yeah, communication, yes.
And sometimes just with things like that, right? I've been in settings, I have to say to you, where I've been with people who speak a different language from me, and I don't understand the language. And I know how sometimes it feels a little bit distracting, if I may use the term, where you're there and then suddenly you didn't know that you were another until suddenly, and there were 10 of you in the room, and you never realized, and then suddenly 7 people started speaking another language you couldn't understand. Now knowing what they've just told you is you are an other, because it's right in your face. You realize there's a joke, everybody else understands the joke, you don't. There is a comment, you don't understand it. Or maybe people from the same background. You didn't realize everybody has been friends for 15 years until they now, share this in an inside joke. You don't get it. And then it suddenly stands out to you that, hang on, everybody else is laughing, I'm not, because I don't understand the context.
Yes.
Now it might not be something they've done on purpose, but we find out that without knowing it, without realizing it, sometimes we promote otherness, right? And by the time we get to the point of this, what you've described happening, where we think they don't like us or we're having issues, we may not realize that just before we've even met the person, just with the way we've done certain things, maybe perception, maybe we've created the situation, the environment to allow otherness to thrive, right? So I wanted to start there before, maybe looking at then what we can do when inevitably we face otherness, because I faced it, you faced it, sometimes I'm creating it without knowing it, and sometimes I've been on the receiving end, or whatever the case may be. I know we do need to go for our spotlight segment. Now when we come back,
or already, I'm already feeling this. If I had my way, I would say, let's not go to spotlight segment, but we do have our guests waiting. We definitely have to go. Viewers, don't go anywhere. When we come back, it will be our spotlight segment. See you shortly.
In this month, we celebrate the resurrection of our Lord and Saviour, Jesus the Christ. His resurrection was the ultimate breakthrough. And because of his breakthrough, we too break through on every front. This is our month to break through. Join us every Sunday at House on the Rock, London, from 9:30 a.m. at the Rock Tower, 49 Tufnell Park Road, N7 0PS. Plan to come in person, but if you cannot, make sure to join us online on any of our digital platforms at HOTR London. You are next in line to testify. Go tell it on the mountain. Your breakthrough is now. See you on top.
Sis, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Well, good morning. Welcome to SonRise.
I think you're going to be part of those people that we start giving medals to on our show, because you're becoming a very frequent face on here, and we love it. We love it.
For having
Welcome
me.
back to the show. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you? How are you, Zuby? Good to see you.
Very well, thank you.
I'm
it's
here.
first Sunday of the month. Happy new month. I know
Happy new
Prof doesn't
month.
like that, but yeah, it's you can see his face. Yes. Anyways, thank you very much for joining us in our spotlight segment. Yes, you know how we roll here. So this segment, now we want to get to know you. We use this segment really to learn a bit more about people, hear about people's experiences, and learn one or two things from it. So today we'd like you to share an experience that has had an impact on you. It could be something recent or something that happened a while ago. So what would you like to share with us today?
I will be sharing with you today an experience I had with an old colleague, at a previous job.
Wow. Okay, so this is great. I think I'm liking this because you know why? We've had someone come share an experience with a boss before or something. So yeah, this is really good. Definitely, yes. Let's hear more about it. So what happened?
All right. So, like everybody, you get into a new role, you're expected to be accepted, not necessarily loved, but at least, all have that same, mindset and focus to drive the dream and aspirations of the organization to a successful finish, with every project. So with this particular lady, she wasn't just having it, and I came in and, it was just hostility all the way. Nothing I did, and sort of like a team lead kind of role. Nothing I did sat well with her. Nothing I said, nothing I preferred. Even at meetings, she was always on the defensive, always having almost like an edge around her. But for me, I still didn't let it faze me. I still would work with her as we're colleagues. We have to work. That's why we're here, no sentiment, and I didn't hold on to anything she did or, attitude wise and all of that. Even with emails, sometimes she'll respond and it was just so full of anger, me reading between the lines really. And I started hearing things about her, like, okay, she's been through a lot. She tends to be like that because she's lonely. She feels she's been abandoned, things like that. Almost like personal issues, which she definitely brings into work, affecting her professionally, and maybe without her knowing, actually, giving that front to everyone. They might not count it as anything, but for me, joining the team newly and expecting that everybody would work with me, let's collaborate well and work this projects and everything sweet and smooth. But I really had a good fair share of hostility from her, but it was something.
I think that's really interesting, because I feel like you were just about touching on something else that I was going to ask you, because my next question to you was going to be, why did you think she reacted to you that way? Was it just you that she did that to, or was it a thing with her? So every single person who's joined the team, they all have the same thing to say about this particular person, but so can you just speak to that, please? Because I'd like to know.
Yeah. I'm going to be real here. I think it was maybe 50, 40, 60% color issue. And the rest being that, I started hearing that her best friend was in the position before and she was sacked also for a lot of things, misconduct, not delivering and all of that. And I came in and trying to call the shots and trying to kind of introduce new ways of working, things like that. And she wasn't just having it. She wasn't going to deal with it. She was, what were they thinking? Why would they bring someone else and So, all this.
And you were meant to be a team lead, right?
Yes.
You were meant to be a team lead.
Yes.
So, this is getting more interesting, to be honest. So what do you think? How did this have an impact on you, or what was the impact on you as a person?
For me, it kind of, hence from there, then I kind of had to sort of make sure that I didn't let my guards down. I kind of had this thing around me, like, okay, it kind of clouded my judgments, going into other positions from there, like, okay, almost going in the defensive, like, okay, nobody can come at me. I'm here ready. Wow. Anybody that would try any nonsense, I'm going to give it to them, kind of thing, And I realized it wasn't the best, really. So for me, that affected me that way, for a short while, really.
Oh, wow. I mean, thank you for sharing that, because this is what we said, it's one thing to hear about the experience you've had, and another thing is to understand why it had that impact on you. So you walk around into other organizations being defensive already, even before meeting people, you've made up your mind about them just because of the experience you had in the past. Now, on to the last question for this morning. In terms of, for our viewers who are watching this morning, what would it be that you want them to take away from this experience that you had? Just one takeaway for them, please. And us as well, of course.
Not to write people off completely, really. And because at the end of it, I had a heart-to-heart talk with her, and just to understand why and what the problem really was. And she did confide in me. She told me some personal stuff she was dealing with, and for me, it resonated, and I could see from my own standpoint of view. I had empathy, and so it didn't really draw us close anyway. But in a sense, I knew why she was behaving that way. Which was okay as long as we get the job done. People like that don't necessarily change, but yeah.
Wow. Thank you so very much. So viewers, you've heard it, do not write anyone off. Even as Christians, why should we even write anyone off? Yeah. It's not what God wants of us. So thank you so much, Sis, for sharing with us this morning. It's been great having you on the show. Remember, we're coming back to you in a few weeks' time again. So thank you for joining again. Yes, and we will see you in service. Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Do you want a revival in your prayer life? Do you want to take the hit and miss out of prayer? Do you want guaranteed answers to your prayers? Well, this month's live class series is just for you. It's Prayer School. Come learn how to pray in the new covenant. If God already knows our needs and the work has already been finished in Christ, why and how are we to pray? These and many other relevant questions will be answered in this series. Don't keep it to yourself. Tell everyone that needs a breakthrough to join in every Wednesday from 7:25 p.m. on all our digital platforms. See you there.
Welcome back, viewers. Prof, that was something, like Tomori knew what we were going to talk about, like she had been watching the first segment of the show, but this is what it's saying. Let's just come together and share this experience. And what she shared aligns completely with what we were discussing. And what you said before we went on break, you were talking about the fact that we allow otherness because we focus a lot more on our differences than our similarities. And I have to say, viewers, if you did not take anything from this episode today, this you have to always remember, especially in the workplace or even in any in any setting, actually, when we're dealing with people, maybe that would help us to not create that environment. Prof, I don't want to take the words out of your mouth because you were going to tell us how to practically ensure that we do not allow otherness to thrive. So over to you.
Yes, thank you, Bibby. And I have to say here, obviously, we know that, again, what we've described as otherness, in a sense, is a feature of our reality. We are different. People are different. But you see, that's the thing. When we face difference, when we face diversity, we can either look at it as a source of weakness or as a source of strength. Right? And remember, there are these cultural stories. I think a lot of the cultures that I know about have these stories about how it is that, it's a broomstick by itself is not that strong as possible broomsticks. You look at the US kind of motto, a pluribus unum in diverse. Yes, that unity in diversity, right?
Yeah.
Strength, diversity. In essence, otherness is actually not always a bad thing, right? Difference, diversity is otherness. Otherness is the one that is not a good thing, but diversity is not a bad thing. Diversity is a good thing. Otherness is not. And what the difference is the way it's perceived, right? And so going back to what we were talking about, I think that every one of us, and this is not to say that, we're not going to face a situation like that. We are going to. We have faced it and we are going to. How do we handle it? And that's why I started with that perspective of looking at what the similarities are. And I think that for me, the things that I've been learning, because this is a work in progress for everybody, things that I've been learning, number one, when you look at differences as an opportunity rather than as a challenge, that's already something to build on.
Yeah.
So you see things differently from me. You know what? I don't have to look at it as being, maybe it's just being difficult.
Yeah.
I can look at it as being, you know what? Bibby can see things that are in a blind spot for me because she thinks.
Yeah.
So perhaps instead of looking at you as somebody to avoid or somebody to sidestep or just you because you just slow things down, I might look at you and say, you know what, our 360-degree view is not complete until we get Bibby's view, because she will know that I won't, because we see things differently, right? Yeah. And I need to communicate that with you so that, because obviously you may have the same perspective, so every time we come together, sparks fly and we spend all our time fighting when we could spend our time being strong. So that's one thing. So let's look at the diversity rather than the otherness. The second thing is to remember that otherness is a label and a description that is empowered by ourselves, right? You heard where Sister Tomori ended. She said that I actually had a conversation with the woman, and I was able to, in other words, put myself in her shoes.
Her shoes, yeah.
She did. She built a bridge of this otherness.
Yeah.
And I think the single biggest and most powerful way to deal with otherness is to build bridges. And building a bridge can be something as simple as, even within yourself, saying, hang on, how does it feel to be this person? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Just asking yourself that question in that moment can make you pause. Just pause a little bit before you say that thing and you think, hang on, maybe there's something else going on here. If I were in their shoes, how would I perceive what I just said? How would I react to the way I just barged into the room, and then, I came into the room, I didn't say anything, I picked up what I was going to take, and I walked out, and I said, and then maybe you had a bad day. Maybe you've been coming from a place where people have been treating you badly, and then I did that, and then you've reacted in a way, and I'm thinking you've overreacted. That's fine, maybe you have. But if I think of the way that, hang on, perhaps if I put myself in your shoes, maybe I've done something a little bit different, so that there's otherness, but there's a bridge. Then we may not. So I think that if I may then kind of close out there, I'll say there are two things for me, at least two fundamental things. One, looking at diversity and not otherness. Looking at it as an opportunity and not a challenge. Looking at it as a chance to create something beautiful and something different, rather than as a to conflict. And then the second thing is building bridges. We've been talking about building bridges for the past few weeks. And I think build bridges, try to understand what it could feel like to be in the other person's shoes. It doesn't mean you're going to be them. It doesn't mean you're going to end up agreeing, but it doesn't mean you see a different perspective. If nothing else, you can at least understand why they are doing what they are doing, so you can address it.
You're so spot on, Prof. And that it goes back to what Sister Tomori said earlier, in terms of where she had to speak to the lady, even though, she knew she probably won't change. But at the time, she built that bridge. And I'm sure they were able to then, work towards wherever it was that they were working with and achieve the goals set before them. So, Prof, thank you so much. This is something that I think, in my opinion, that we should revisit. And I'm sure we would at some point, because I want us to talk about diversity. Diversity is not just about color. You know, we might be thinking there's no diversity with us because we are of the same race, you know, but there is so much, and we need to discuss it. Anyway, viewers, thank you for joining us today. It's been great. It is time for service. And as always, you know, Prof, please take us into service.
Thank you, Bibby, and thank you everyone for sticking with us so far. It's the first Sunday of the month. It's Communion Sunday, and it's time to, well, actually, Bibby, I forgot to mention this. We've been fasting, right?
Yes, you know, it's the makeup that is not letting people know that. Yes,
this is day 7, I believe, of the fast. Of our
it is actually, yeah.
So, yeah. What's not to like? Anyway, see you at the Rock Tower. Don't go anywhere. God bless you.
God bless you.